Hello everyone, this is Raj Sengotwil. I'm a data science and machine learning practitioner. In this presentation, we are going to look at descriptive data analysis done on Indian Premier League cricket data. During last couple of years, the IPL games were shifted out of India to UAE due to the COVID pandemic. Last year, the games were held in India but only at select few locations to avoid travel due to the pandemic. This year, IPL is scheduled to start on 31st March in a traditional home and away format across 12 different locations in India. In this series of videos, I am going to perform a detailed data analysis of the past IPL games played at these different venues and present interesting insights. The idea here is not to provide expert cricket opinion, rather apply data science and visualization techniques to the past data and discover meaningful insights. So let's get started. First, we will dive into the details of IPL games happened at one of the iconic cricket stadiums in India, the M A Chidambaram Stadium in Chepauk, Chennai. As many of you know, it's the home of the Chennai Super Kings. It has hosted 67 games so far. The last IPL game was in 2021 and the last CSK game was in 2019. As you could see, CSK is going to play at home almost after like 4 years. Alright, now let's look at the overall team performance at Chennai. It's quite obvious that Chennai has played more games because it's a home ground for them. But they have a pretty good win percentage at home. So they won 71% of all the games that they have played. So that is like 40 out of 56 games. Among the visiting teams, Mumbai Indians have a better winning percentage. So they have 53% win record. So they won 7 out of 13 games that they have played here. So if you could look at everyone except Mumbai Indians among visiting teams have a win percentage which is less than 50%. So RCB has won 5 out of 12 games. Delhi Capitals have won 4 out of 10 games. Punjab Kings 3 out of 8. And then Pune Warriors India 1 out of 3 games. That team is not there in the league anymore. Sunrisers Hyderabad have won 3 out of 12. Kolkata Knight Riders again 3 out of 12, and Rajasthan Royals have a poor win record here, so they have won only 1 game out of 7 that they have played. So it is quite evident from this chart that the odds of winning team, odds of away team winning in Chennai is not that great. Okay, let's move on. One of the interesting things in cricket is toss. So usually the game starts with a toss. So the team winning the toss has to decide whether they want to bowl first or bat first. So as you could see, 61% of the time the team winning toss decides to bat here in Chennai, and only 38% actually decides to bowl first. So did toss affect the result? Meaning whoever wins the toss, do they go on to win the game? Not necessarily, as you could see, as we expect, because the toss shouldn't actually play a major role in deciding the result of the game, right? So as you could see, there is a slight advantage of winning toss because 52% of the time the team winning the toss has gone ahead and won the game. But it's pretty close. We cannot say from this data that you win the toss in Chennai and you will win the game. That's not the case here. So there's a slight advantage though. Okay, so now let's look at, did team batting first win, irrespective of whether they won the toss or not, whether they selected to bat first or they put into bat first. Yes, so 61% of the time the team batting first was won. So that is actually a significant information. So batting first in Chennai has better odds of winning the game. And then further here, those who have won the toss and elected to bat first are winning the game 60% of the time, as opposed to whoever is winning the toss and electing to field first, they only won 38% of the times. So it is conclusive from this data that you win the toss in Chennai, bat first, you have a better chance of winning. Alright, now let's look at overall batting record. So this chart actually presents the top 10 run getters. Of course, this is the overall run getters list in Chennai, and because Chennai is the home ground for CSK, so you could see this chart is occupied by many CSK players. Like, of course, Suresh Raina, who's the Mr. IPL. So he has scored almost 1500 runs here in this ground. Next to him is the man himself, MS Dhoni, who has scored 1300 plus runs in this ground. And Murali Vijay, Michael Hussey, Faf du Plessis, and Badrinath. What is interesting here is Virat Kohli and AB de Villiers. So they have actually they are figuring in the top 10. That's quite interesting. And no other batsmen from visiting teams are figuring in the top 10. Top 10 run getters overall. Now let's look at the batting records among the visiting teams, like the leading run getters among the visiting teams, top 10 leading run getters. As we saw, Virat Kohli and AB de Villiers topped the chart, and followed by the Rohit Sharma from Mumbai Indians, David Warner from Sunrisers Hyderabad, although he's moved out of that team and not with SRH anymore, and Surya Kumar Yadav. So you could see Shane Watson also has scored like 21 runs when he played for Rajasthan Royals, and Johnny Bairstow. So there are like two KKR batsmen there, followed by Manish Pandey. Alright, let's look at individual batting records. Right, this is the top 10 individual batting record. So Murali Vijay has done wonders here in Chepauk. So he has the highest score, which is 127, and in fact he has 200s. He has 127, he has 113. So 2 centuries he got. He also has 95. So obviously he figures at the top. Brendan McCullum has 100. Suresh Raina has 100 here. That is quite interesting. So there are like 4 Chennai Super Kings batsmen who have scored 100 here. Shane Watson, when he played for Rajasthan Royals, has 102. When he played for Chennai Super Kings, has a 96 as the highest score. Michael Hussey has a 95, followed by Naman Oja and Manvinder Bisla. It's quite interesting that there are no other batsmen from other teams except CSK, RR, and KKR has scored above 90. That's quite an interesting fact from this chart. Okay, so this chart takes away the CSK batsman, only looks at the visiting teams. As you can see, Shane Watson has this 101 when he played for Rajasthan Royals, and the top 3 are occupied by the Rajasthan Royals batsmen, followed by KKR batsman, and then Chris Gayle, when he played for Royal Challengers Bangalore, has 89. In fact, Manvinder Bisla, when he played for KKR, has two good scores. Like one is 92, other one is 89. Then we have Manish Pandey, Nitish Rana, and Glenn Maxwell. So what is interesting here is among the visiting teams, even though the Rajasthan Royals batsmen have done well in terms of the individual scores, but the team win percentage is still low. So they have the lowest win percentage among all visiting teams, even though they had better individual performances. In fact, the top three batting performances of visiting team belongs to Rajasthan Royals, yet they still have the lowest win percentage. That's quite interesting. Okay, so this chart, this is a scatter plot which shows individual batting records. So the dots that we see on the chart represents individual batting strike rate. The gray line here that we see, that is the median strike rate. So that's median strike rate is slightly above 100. So in fact, that is around 106. As you could see, the line here on the box plot, so that is the median strike rate of the individual teams. So Chennai Super Kings and Rajasthan Royals have the median strike rate which is above the median strike rate of all the batting performances at this venue. Rest of the teams have the median strike rate that is lower than that of the overall median strike rate. That is quite interesting. So nobody except Chennai Super Kings and Rajasthan Royals are striking above the overall median strike rate. And of course, here the dots are more on the Chennai side because, as I mentioned earlier, they have played more home games, and since it's a home ground for them, obviously they have actually played more games at this venue. And box plots also actually give the interquartile range, that is the 25th percentile, which is over here, and then the 50th percentile, which is over there. And then the line actually extends to the 1.5 times the median on either side. So that's the lowest boundary, and then that's the highest boundary. And everything else that lies outside are the outliers. So in a game, there could be a batsman who would be striking at 600 strike rate, 400 strike rate, but these are quite outliers. But what is interesting is to look at what is the majority of the data points, like what are the data points that are lying between the 25th percentile to the 75th percentile, and what's the median. So that will actually give a lot more insights about the overall distribution of the data. Okay, so I'm going to actually move on. So this chart here represents the individual scores. So on the x-axis, that is the number of balls that each batsman is facing or faced, and on the y-axis, the number of runs they scored. So and the line there is the it's a trend line. So it's basically, as it's quite obvious, as as you face more balls, you tend to actually score more runs. The one of the interesting things here is, like, obviously Chennai has quite a bit of high performances among all the other teams here. Mumbai has a few high performances, but if you look at here, there are quite a lot of dots here. That means Chennai batsmen have actually performed better among the other batsmen. And also, the curve is not a straight. I mean, the trend line is not a straight line. It is kind of a curve here. That means, like, as the batsman actually faces more balls, they tend to actually increase their strike rate. Thereby, they score higher. All right. Okay, so this chart compares Chennai versus that is the home team versus the visiting team. And like I was saying, if you look at the yellow dots are the individual batting performances of the Chennai Super King batsmen, whereas the black dots are the visiting team performances. So as you could see here, when typically when Chennai batsmen or the CSK batsmen plays more than 40 balls, they tend to actually score higher. Like if you see the trend line actually starts starts going like a curve rather than a straight line, and that's not the case for the visiting teams because the trend line is more of a straight line here. So they don't tend to actually increase their batting strike rate as and when they start playing like more balls. All right. So next is the boundaries record. The chart on the left side is the overall top 10 boundary getters, and the right side is the visiting team. So as you can see here, Suresh Raina has an outstanding record of scoring 140 boundaries. That's quite a lot because as you could see, the next best number is 90. And then MS Dhoni is on the at the third among this boundary getters, and of course we have two visiting team batsmen figuring in the overall top 10 boundary getters. If you look at the visiting teams, AB de Villiers and Surya Kumar Yadav have scored more boundaries, and then we have Virat Kohli, and then you could see the others. When it comes to hitting sixes, who can do that better than the man himself? So as you can see, we have MS Dhoni figuring the top of the chart. It's quite obvious, and he has an outstanding record of six hitting in Chennai. So he has hit 64 sixes, followed by Suresh Raina, and we have Andre Russell and Johnny Bairstow in the top 10 overall six hitters in Chennai. So that's quite interesting among the visiting teams. And apart from the Andre Russell and Johnny Bairstow, we have Rohit Sharma in the six hitting chart. And quite interestingly, so we have three Mumbai Indians batsmen in the top 10 six hitting list among the visiting teams. And then we have Shane Watson. Interestingly, he has scored more sixes while he was playing for Rajasthan Royals. That is interesting. Okay, so we're going to look at runs per over. So in each of the 20 overs of the innings, who has scored more runs? Right. So that is what this table is going to present. So obviously Murali Vijay, because he's a opener. So this is the overall record. So we will also look at the runs per over among the visiting teams, but this is overall, and obviously it will be dominated by the home team batsman. So Murali Vijay has dominated the first three overs. So he has scored heavily because he is an opener. We have Suresh Raina, who typically played at number 3 position. So he has scored the most runs in fourth and fifth, all the way up to like 10th over. So that's quite a lot, and it's quite obvious, right? Because he has scored the most runs in Chepauk Stadium. The runs distribution here. So this chart, this little chart here, provides interesting information. So this distribution here provides like how are they scoring, like what typically how and what kind of runs they are scoring. So the first one is obviously the dot balls, ones, we have twos, and then we have fours and sixes. So Murli Vijay deals in fours in the first over, and you could see as he plays and plays further, there is a spike among the sixes. And similarly, Suresh Raina starts hitting fours, and then there is like once he settles here. So if he's playing on like the sixth over, which is the last over of the power play, we could see sixes here. And then after the power play, we could see the fours. We don't see many sixes here. And from overs 11 to 20, we again see Suresh Raina dominating overs 11th and 12th. And then we have MS Dhoni dominating from 13th to all the way to 20th over. And the interesting thing here, as we all know, when MS comes into the bat, we see he runs actually. He scores more of singles and doubles here, as the chart shows, because this one here is the dot balls. Here is the singles and doubles. And then as you could see, as he approaches towards the end of the game, after 17th, 18th over, you could see spikes here to the fours and sixes bucket. And in fact, in 19th and 20th over, so he has hit more fours and sixes among the batsmen. Okay, so this is runs per over for the away teams. So the first over, Chris Gale has actually scored more runs, and then we have these batsmen among the other overs, as you could see. And the interesting thing here is like they tend to actually focus more here on like picking up singles and doubles. And the interesting thing is Virat Kohli has actually scored more runs in 8th over, but it is kind of like he's more on the singles and doubles rather than focusing on hitting fours. And this is the runs per over among away teams from 11th to 20th over. And as you could see, RCB batsman has been dominating in this section. The only exception is Andrew Russell. So Andrew Russell actually has done well in the death overs in Chennai. As you could see here on 17th, in 17th over, he has scored 47 runs, and then in 20th over, he has scored 28 runs. Alright, so far we have seen the batting performances. Now let's look at the bowling record. So this chart here shows the overall bowling record, rather the total wickets taken. Top 10 total wickets taken in Chennai. So Ravichandran Ashwin and Dwayne Bravo has taken 43 wickets each, followed by Albie Morkel, Doug Bollinger, Shadab Jakati and Ravindra Jadeja, Mohit Sharma, Imran Tahir, Harbhajan Singh. Only interesting fact here is Harshal Patel figures among the top 10 overall wicket getters, and Harshal Patel is the only visiting team bowler. The other 9 bowlers are from the home team. The other interesting factor here This list is dominated by spinners and medium pacers. We have Ravichandran Ashwin there, Jakati, Ravindra Jadeja, Imran Tahir, and Harbhajan Singh. So uh, almost 5 to 6 bowlers among the top 10 wicket getters are spinners, and I don't see like an express pace bowler in this list. So that kind of like explains the nature of the Chennai wicket. Let's look at the among the visiting teams who has taken more wickets. So Rahul Chahar and Harshal Patel, as you could see, have taken actually 11 wickets, followed by Andrew Russell, Rashid Khan, Kieran Pollard, Amit Mishra, Pragyan Oja, and then three Mumbai Indians bowlers. So as you could see, among the visiting teams, five positions were occupied by Mumbai Indian bowlers in the top 10 list. That's quite outstanding. So that explains that why Mumbai has a better winning percentage among the other visiting teams. In this chart also, if you look at it, except Lashit Malinga and Jasprit Bumrah, the top 10 list is occupied by mostly spinners and slow bowlers. Okay, so this chart here shows the overall bowling record. We saw that a couple of slides back, the same data in a different chart, but here it presents more data. It also gives you the median economy. So Ravi Ashwin has the better economy, having played this 36 games and taken 43 wickets. And this distribution here, if you look at it, Ravi Ashwin's economy is more of a Gaussian distribution, whereas we have some long tails here. And then Ravindra Jadeja also have like few economies which are not is typical like performances. And as we were seeing, we have Rahul Chahar and Harshal Patel in the 10th position among the overall bowling performances. So this is the bowling record of visiting teams. Okay, wickets per over. So who's taking wickets in each of the overs? So Deepak Chahar has taken 4 wickets in first over. So this is the home team. So we are looking at among the home team bowlers who has taken most wickets in each of the overs. So Deepak Chahar is the most influential bowlers, or I would say most wicket-taking bowlers in the first over, because obviously he swings the ball. And then the interesting fact is we have spinners, Harbhajan Singh and Ravichandran Ashwin, taking many wickets inside the power play, because up to 6 overs we have power play where more fielders are inside the circle. And it's quite interesting that the spinners were used inside power plays, and they have taken actually wickets at a good economy rate. That's quite interesting. And it's again spinners who are dominating most of the overs from 11 to 15, or in fact up to 16. And then if you look at towards the death, which is 18, 19, and 20, we have Dwayne Bravo, Albie Morkel doing exceptionally well for CSK. In fact, Dwayne Bravo is a death over specialist for CSK, and he has picked up 12 wickets in over number 18 because he typically bowls over 18 and 20 with an economy rate of 7.4. In 20th over, he has picked up 11 wickets at an economy rate of 10.3. Yeah, it's quite obvious that he gets hit in 20th over because typically that's the last over of the innings and batsmen tend to actually go all guns out. So that's why this economy is like 10.3, but it's interesting to see he has picked up wickets as well. So this is the wickets per over among away teams. Interestingly, we could see a spinner and visiting team spinner performing well inside the power play. So this is quite evident from the data that we have seen so far that inside power plays spinners most likely get used in Chennai. And if you look at Sunil Narayan, is another spinner among the visiting teams who has done well in the power play. We have the other spinners picking up wickets outside of power play as well. And from overs 11 to 20, the same story repeats, and we could see Ravichandran Ashwin, Rahul Chahar doing well leading up to the death overs, and then in the death overs, we could see Bumrah and Malinga doing well. And the other quite interesting fact here is look at over number 20. Harshal Patel has picked up 7 wickets and he has bowled 3 overs. That means he has bowled 18 balls and picked up 7 wickets at an economy rate of 4.3. That's quite interesting. Okay, so this chart here shows bowling economy versus wickets. So this is a dot plot which shows each dot represents individual bowling performances, the number of wickets taken versus economy. As you could see, when the bowlers pick up more wickets, the economy rate comes down. So that's quite obvious, right? Because when they pick up wickets, it indicates that it is difficult to play that bowler, and batsmen tend to not to take risks, so they don't score off that bowler. So the economy comes down, and that is more stronger in case of CSK because the yellow line shows that CSK bowlers, when they pick up wickets, they tend to actually concede lesser runs as opposed to the visiting teams. Alright, now we are approaching to the last part of the segment where we are going to actually look at the individual batting innings. First, let's look at Chennai Super Kings. The line shows the batting innings of each game, and it's divided into the games that they've lost and games that they won. And this vertical line is the power play indicator, like the first 6 overs of power play, and then this horizontal line is basically the 10-run mark, just to actually help the visualization. So as you could see here, we can almost see a trend like this is basically the first innings, this is the second innings. So CSK have won more games batting first. So in that we can almost pick up a trend here. If you see, this is basically 3 over moving average. That is what is shown here, and then the dots represent the individual runs that they got in each of the game. So there is a trend here. They pick up slow and then and perform better, and the moving average goes up. leading up to the end of the power play, and then after the power play they tend to actually slow down, because that's a period when the field spreads out. And then as they approach the eighth and ninth over mark, they tend to actually pick up again. And then in some games, after the 10th 11th over, the rate comes down. And then in almost in all the games after the 15th over mark, 15th over 16th over mark, when they start approaching the death overs, that is the close to the innings, they pick up, again and finish stronger. So thanks to the performances of the captain MS Dhoni, so they were able to actually consistently do that, and that's clearly visible here. And the same story here when they were batting second. If you look at the games that they've lost, um, they have an extended period of time where the moving average were declining. Like if you look at it, they were doing okay, similar to how they were doing in the games that they won in the power play. They were doing okay in power play, and then after power play, maybe because I think we need to dive deep into these games and look at in the individual games. But the trend here is like after power play, the moving average comes down, and then it continues to go down up until 16th over, and then picks up, except few games. But when they pick up, it's not good enough to go ahead and win the game. And that's the same case while chasing also. While chasing, I think they tend to actually pick up slightly earlier, like around like the 12th 13th over mark. But then there is a trend here in almost all the games that they have lost batting second, they were not doing well among the death over. So after 18th over, almost in all games, the trend is that the moving average goes down. So that's actually quite contrast to how they were doing in the games that they won in death overs. Okay, so this is the batting innings of Mumbai Indians. So if you look at the games that they have won batting first and the game that they have lost, the key difference is the death overs. The trend is more or less similar up to the 10th over mark, but if you look at the overs from 15 to 20 here, the games that they have won, they have actually the moving average continues to actually increase, as the overs progress. So basically, they've done very well in the death overs, but here, if you look at it, it is only declining. So that is the key difference that we could actually observe from here. Similarly, while chasing also, they've done something similar to batting first. The other interesting factors here, if you see, there are some games where they've done well from 14th to 18th over, but then if you look at it, between the games that they won, either batting first or batting second, they've done better in the last 3 overs. But here, the games that they have lost, obviously, they didn't do well, especially when they were batting second. The run rate, the moving average, has drastically come down in the last 3 overs. So basically that made the difference here. So this is the Royal Challengers Bangalore's batting record. Here, between the games that they've lost and won, we couldn't actually draw a pattern here. It's more of like, I think based on that day who has done better, or as a team whether they have done better, because you could see the games that they've lost also they've done reasonably well, except one game here. But the game that they have won also have been consistently on the lower, they're scoring on the lower side, but then they've done better towards the death. So it's not a clear pattern that is emerging here, except the fact that uh, towards the end they have done better. Like if you could see here, the moving average among the games that they won, towards the end it is better, except like one game here. All other games they were like not doing great towards the end, as opposed to like how they were doing in the games that they won. Okay, so this is the chart for Delhi Capitals. So the four games that they won, they tend to actually start well in the power play and then lose probably wickets in the power play. So that's why there's a curve that dips, and then they tend to pick up and towards like the eighth, ninth over, when that I think that's where the strategic break comes in. Right off the break, probably they lose wickets, though, or they're not able to score, so it comes down. Then they pick up, and somehow manage to win these games. That has been the case here also. If you look at it, there's not much difference between this and this, except the fact somewhere here they were not accelerating. Like towards into the game, they were not accelerating as they were doing here between the 18th and 19th over. Like if you could see here, uh, towards the death, they were not accelerating as much as they were doing here among the games that they won. Alright, so this shows the batting innings of Punjab Kings. They won 3 games that they have played in Chennai. And it is interesting in one of the games where the moving average was declining up to 10th over, and then from there they picked up and won the game. And it is quite interesting that almost in all the games, right? So right out of the power play, right, the trend has been that the moving average has been actually declining for them. If you look at it, like if you draw a trend, except 1 or 2 games, they don't seem to score at an higher rate right out of the power play, and then they tend to actually up their innings after the 10 over mark. Um, like here, if you see, this goes up, this also goes up, but there are a few games where they were not able to do that. So there's no clear pattern that emerges from this data. Okay, so this is the Sunrisers Hyderabad batting innings. Here, it's quite interesting. They have done well in the games that they have lost towards the end. But if you look at it, they were not the games. The one game that they won batting first, they did exceptionally well during power play at the beginning of the power play. Maybe the first and second over they were doing good, but then they were declining. The rest of the overs in the power play, and then from seventh over they picked up. They were doing better, and then they were consistently doing better, because if I need to draw a trend line, it kind of like goes up like that. Um, that was been more or less the case here also, because after like ninth, 10th over, they were doing better, but they still lost the game. So it would be interesting to dive deep into these games. And then while batting second, they lost more games, if you look at it. And they were doing better. They were starting slow and then scoring better, and maybe they're losing wickets. And then right after like the fourth over mark here, they start declining, and then they never go, like never have better performances from say sixth over up until like 14th over, and then try to actually up their innings, and that probably not good enough to win the game, except like these two that they have won. All right, here's the Kolkata Knight Riders. they typically tend to do better in the death over, as you could see here. But they have lost it as opposed to the games that they won. So probably it indicates that they were probably leaving too many runs to the end to get, and then some batsman goes and attacks and tries to get that. So that's why there's a huge spike, and then in that process they end up losing their wickets. So it starts to decline, as opposed to like a slow and steady here. And here also the one game that they won batting first, they were doing better here, and then they kind of like lost the plot here. They kind of like recovered. All right, the last one is Rajasthan Royals. As you could see, they won only one game, that took batting first. So Rajasthan has never won a game batting second. That is that they have never chased down in Chennai, Chepauk. So here, the interesting fact is like they tend to do exceptionally well in power play. As you could see here, it's an increasing trend in power play here also while batting first, and then quite obvious after power play the score starts to decline, and then they start to actually pick up here in the middle overs. I think the quite interesting fact here is they were not doing well in the death over. Maybe they're losing too many wickets by um, attacking here, but in both the occasions, even in the game that they won, right after like 16th over, 17th over, the average starts to decline. Here also, if you could see, so it's quite evident in all the games after like 16th over, they were not doing better. So they could actually focus on doing better in power play. Um, I mean that's what is quite evident from this chart. All right, so that concludes the detailed analysis of all the games happened in Chepauk Stadium. Thank you so much for watching. I'll come up with a similar video for other venues. Until then, thank you. Have a good one.